Hi, and thanks for joining us here on Outside the Deck Box at PureMTGO.com. This week we're taking a look at a deck that caught my eye while I was browsing the standard daily events on MTGO or MTGOnline.com. This deck is a three-color Delver deck that can play like an aggro deck or it can play like a control deck. But it features some really neat interactions with it, and some cards that maybe wouldn't see much play in Standard. Granted, we have all-stars like Snapcaster Mage and Geist of St. Traft and Delver of Secrets, who hasn't seen much play since his buddy Mana Leak rotated out, but was a Standard menace. But we're seeing guys like Midnight Haunting, who hasn't seen much play since Innistrad Block constructed, or Rootborn Defenses, or Druid's Deliverance. We're seeing some cards that if you just look at the deck list and browse, you're thinking, wow, that's a really, really nice draft deck. And it's so much more than a draft deck. There is amazing synergy between Geist of St. Traft and Cloudfin Raptor. There's great synergy between Call of the Conclave and Rootborn Defenses, or Geist and Deliverance. There's great synergy with Snapcaster and all these aggressive pump spells that we have in the deck. So let's go ahead and break this down and look over the creature base. In the 1 mana slot, we've got 3 Cloudfin Raptors, and we have 3 Delver Secrets. Delver is a great turn 1 play with the amount of instants and sorceries that are in the deck. We're looking at 4, 7, 8, 11, 12, 16, 20, 23. We're looking at 23 instants and sorceries in the deck, so flipping him on turn 2 should not be that much of an issue, because you've got a high density of non-creatures and non-lands. We do have 23 lands, but back to the creatures. The Cloudfin Raptor is great early, but weaker at the end of the game. And I believe that's why there's actually only 3 copies of the Raptor here, because there's nothing worse than drawing this guy on turn 8 and realizing that he's not going to evolve. In the 2-drop slot, we have Snapcaster Mage, who is going to be maybe flashing back a Call of the Conclave or a Celestia Charm at the end of your opponent's turn to make another 2/2 Knight. And we also have Call of the Conclave, which isn't really a creature as much. I mean, it is a creature, but it's a sorcery. But I've put him in the creature pile because he's just going to be a 3/3 Centaur. At the 3 slot, we've got Geist of St. Traft, who, with the emergence of the Junk Reanimator decks taking over Standard, has become a little bit better to play because there's not as many Boros Reckoners in the format anymore. With that said, Geist is still a very powerful guy in front of a Reckoner. The damage will kill him, but the 2 damage that is dealt to the Reckoner isn't going to be big enough to deal with the Angel token that comes around. And it's only 2 damage that's getting dealt back to you in case, Reckoner tries to mess up your plans. So the creatures are good. They're fun. Let's go to the spells. We've got a small counterspell suite with Syncopate and Spell Rupture. Spell Rupture is in this deck, it's a Mana Leak, because you're hopefully going to be making them pay 3 off of a Flip Delver or off of a Call of the Conclave. We've got the Midnight Haunting, which to me I think would be better served as another Deliverance or another Defenses, but I don't want to make any changes to the deck list before I actually play it. Defenses is fantastic. It makes your creatures indestructible and it populates. A neat little trick to do with it and Deliverance is to resolve the Geist of St. Traft trigger. And populate the angel token. True, you'll still lose one angel, but you're going to have an untapped 4/4 blocker if need be. The Deliverance, I'm still not really sold on it being in the deck. Again, I would rather it be another Defenses, but as the deck stands, I'm not going to make any changes to it before we play. We've got Celestia Charm, and we've got Simic Charm. These are, outside of Boros Charm, probably the best aggressive charms. Both of them offer a pump, and Celestia gives you a 2/2 or a piece of removal if you're battling down, a Crater Hoof Behemoth or an Angel of Serenity. It exiles those guys. The Simic Charm also acts as removal because it is a unsummoned variant. And between the Simic Charm and these 4 unsummons, you've got 7 ways to gain tempo on your opponents. The lands are a mixture of Innistrad, M13, and the Ravnica Block Shocklands, and 3 islands. The Shocklands, the only downside of this deck is the Shocklands can really mess up your life total quickly. If you're playing against a super aggressive deck, I feel like you are an underdog in that matchup, because you have to take 2 to 6 damage just off playing lands untapped if you don't draw any of the other dual lands. Or if you draw too many Innistrad lands or M13 lands, they're coming into play tapped and you're just going a little slow. I would like to see maybe a Cavern of Souls in here. It will help on humans because Delver and Snapcaster are both humans. And in a pinch, it'll give you the 3rd mana you need for a Geist of Saint Draft. But again, I don't want to make changes until the deck's actually played. We move to the board. We've got an Aetherize, which is great against aggro. We've got 2 Dispels, which I believe is there more for Azorius Charm and spot removal than it is for the actual control matchups. I mean, granted, you're going to see Azorius Charm in the control matchups anyways, so you're going to want to bring them in. We've also got 3 more Druid's Deliverances, which I have been swapping out the counter magic for in the aggro matchups, because you want to have a fog effect so you're not losing the race due to their early fast starts in your Shocklands. We've got a Random Face Shield. We've got 2 Smiters, which have been really good against control. Another Midnight Haunting. 2 Negates. The 4th Rootborn Defenses. And 2 Spectral Flights. If you don't know that putting Spectral Flight on a Geist of Saint Draft is a fantastic play, then I don't know. I don't know what matchup they're coming in for, though. I've been bringing them in against stuff like Jund Midrange, and that's pretty much the only matchup, because you want to be able to fly over their elves with your Geist and keep him around, because you have to attack for 8 against the Jund deck before they're able to actually stabilize. With that said, I believe the deck is a lot of fun, if not frustrating sometimes. And having seen the deck a couple of months ago making some splashes in daily events, I believe that it could be good in this format.